3, 2, 1. Hey guys, Az here at Shield K9. Let's talk about pressure in dog training. So before we even talk, I'm going to give myself 200 on the eCollar Technologies high power mini educator. Okay, now for those of you that don't know, eCollar Technologies, they make a lot of e-collars. Pretty good brand. They have a pretty good quality, and I like using their collars for training here. This is a double box, so most people work with a single box. We, for some of our collars, we actually have a double box. So there's 2 receivers on the strap, okay? I use high power receivers. The regular, which adds basically 25% more power to the collar. So these aren't your typical receivers that you would receive with the mini educator. These are the high power receivers, and there's a variety of reasons that I do that. Now, without further ado, I'm gonna put this on. And I'm going to have my camera guy, Steven, use the collar on me. And the collar is also hooked up to a sound box. Can you see the lights flashing there?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So, it's basically set up the way it would be on a dog. So it's on 10, okay? So the collar's on 10. Can you show them the 10, if you can see it? Yeah? Okay, so why don't you go ahead, give me the 10. So that's a 10, okay? Give it to me a couple more times. So that's a 10. So you can definitely feel it. Makes your neck jump a little bit, right? And this is like where you would probably be doing, where we would be doing anyways here, you know, a lot of our training. In that level. You perceive it, it's annoying, you want to come up with a way to make it stop, and that's about it, all right? So now I'm going to sit down. And Steven's going to turn this baby up to 100, and I am going to get 200. Now, 200 is going to really suck. Okay, guys? So I don't even know, like I've had it done before. I don't know how I'm going to like be able, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue to look at the camera. I'm just sitting down because it's not going to be fun. Can you see that it's on high? So high is 100 if you know the units. You know that high is 100. So give me a bump, Steven. Ooh, oh baby. Okay, now we're gonna get the 200. And if you know, the eCollar Technologies, and basically all good brands of eCollars, they have a 10-second shutoff. All right, so I'm gonna get a 10-second on the eCollar, and it's gonna go continuously until the auto shutoff kicks in. It's also a wonderful opportunity to check to make sure the auto shutoff works. I've never run into a unit that it doesn't. But anyways, here goes. Just give me a sec there, Steven. I need to prepare myself mentally for this wonderful experience I'm about to go through here. So, whenever you're ready, Steven, 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow, that sucked. Okay guys, so let's talk about efficacy in using pressure devices like the eCollar. Okay, so let's just, now I'm sure there's marks on my neck just from the contacts pushing into my neck, but there's no burns or anything like that. There's a big myth out there that eCollars burn you. They don't burn you. Well, not high quality eCollars like the ones that we use. Now, already, there's really not much residual sensation from that. Like, my neck is not in any kind of pain. Now, I didn't do that to show you like, oh, hey, it's no big deal. Because for a lot of dogs, that would be a huge deal. Okay, that would be a really big deal. That would be probably, for some dogs, it would be the absolute, maybe worst experience of their life. And for some dogs, they'd walk through that like it wasn't even there. Because I've seen it both ways. All right? Now, I know there's a lot of people saying, oh my God, like why would you ever do something like that? And let's talk a little bit about pressure in dog training. Steven, why don't you come over here with me? Yeah. So all these devices, guys, are pressure tools, all right? We've got everything from a pinch collar, an e-collar, plastic prong, choke chain, flat collar, regular leash, food, okay? All these devices can be used to pressure a dog. Now, I don't have a Halti or one of those no-pull harnesses. I just don't have any here. So I would put those there for sure as well. These devices and more can be used. A stick. All these devices can be used to create pressure, okay? Now, I'm pretty sure for some of them it's pretty self-explanatory how they create pressure. But for things like a leash, okay? Listen, why do you have your dog on a leash if pressure in dog training is so wrong? Why do you have your dog on a leash? If you really believed that your dog should be completely free and there should be no pressure ever applied and there should be no force ever applied to your dog, you would take the leash off. If I put a human being on the leash, that would be quite a shocking thing. Let's say I decided to put my wife on a leash and lead her around. What do you think people would think about that? What would be the emotional thought behind that? Well, naturally you're like, okay, well, it's completely different for humans. It would be so degrading, it would be so terrible, you know, it would really say a lot about your relationship with your wife. So why do you do it to your dog? Well, we do it to our dogs because, number one, dogs aren't people, okay? So the quintessential argument a lot of the advocates of like force-free training or that are against specific devices, it's funny, people pick and choose, right? They say, okay, well, I'm gonna use a leash and I'm gonna use a flat collar and maybe I'll use this choke chain, but I'm not gonna use this is the evil one right here, okay? And people tend to think of things across a gradient. Now, I'll tell you this, that choke chain, right, this choke chain, in my opinion, much more severe than this, okay? But that's my opinion, that's my knowledge, that's what I do, all right? People tend to think of pressure devices as a gradient. They're not. Well, they are, but in and of themselves, they aren't, okay? I can make this a tickle, just like how we started the video, right? Stephen was bumping me on 10. It was nothing, okay? It was just a little tickle. I can literally take that however I want to take it, right? With dogs, a lot of dogs, especially if we're using a double box e-collar, we've got it on 5, right? And with some dogs, we got it on 25. And it's all about the individual's perception of the device. And it's also all about what we're trying to achieve with the device, right? Am I trying to generate arousal in the dog? I'm trying to create suppression in the dog? Am I trying to teach the dog to do something with the pressure, right? It all depends on what we're trying to do. And this is the problem with this type of moralizing. These are all devices. Now this leash, this food, right? A lot of the force-free trainers, they're all about the leash and the food. That's it. That's all they use, right? Because they're such good dog trainers. Wrong. These are all devices of force. If you don't feed him, he's hungry. Have you ever been hungry? It hurts. It hurts a lot. After a while, it gets really painful, okay? A lot of these people will not feed their dog unless the dog does what they want the dog to do, all right? Now, am I saying that's wrong? No, depends on what you're trying to achieve. Depends on why you're doing it. There are situations where maybe it's warranted. This leash, right? Your dog loves you so much, he has such a good relationship with you. He knows how to sit down because you used your clicker and you taught him all that stuff. He knows how to come when he's called. Why do you walk him in public on the leash? Well, you walk him in public on the leash for your safety and for his and for other people's safety. Because he's a dog. He's an animal. He's a creature of instincts and impulses. And you might have done a lot of clicker training or whatever type of training that you do, but you know that this is your insurance policy because you can't completely trust him. Whenever I see a dog on a leash, I know it's because you can't completely trust him, all right? Now, people that do this, they use the leash, they use the Halti, they use the food, okay? These people say, and not all of them, but many of them will say, I will use this, but I won't use that. And what it really comes down to, when you really get to the bottom of it, it's their feelings. It's their emotions. It's not about the dog. Because if it was about the dog, I'd say, well, this is 6 feet long. Your dog lives basically his life in general, especially if you live in the city, on 6 feet. Yeah, maybe you take him to the dog park, aka Fight Club, 5 times a week, but that's not really much of a life. My dogs rarely see this. They do see a lot of this, and they all know this. And most of the places I go with my dogs, I have countless videos demonstrating it, my dogs are on this, and they get to go completely free because this is my insurance policy. Okay? So what insurance policy is better? This or this? What one is more humane for the dog? Right? Now, this isn't just about freedom for the dog, though that's a big thing. This is also a device that can be used to fix a lot of serious behavioral problems. This is a device that can literally save your dog's life, as can this. But again, what quality of life do you want your dog to have? Now, are there circumstances in which even if you use this, you're also going to use this? Sure. Does it mean you don't use this? Of course it doesn't. My whole point with all this stuff is that we as human beings tend to moralize, and a lot of our moralizing tends to be emotional, okay? And there's a big push in the dog training world. It's been happening the last 20 years to ban certain devices. Many countries in Western Europe, in their infinite wisdom, have banned certain devices like the electric collar, right? Ironically, most of us here in North America learned how to use the electric collar from Western European dog trainers, who all still use the electric collar if they're on any kind of meaningful level, but now they have to hide like they're criminals. So what's more ethical? I can't tell you the amount of dogs whose lives I've changed with this or with this, right? Oh, you don't need those. You just have to teach them and they learn. It's like, yeah, the whole problem with that concept, there's no getting away from pressure in dog training, whether it's minimal pressure, as you might put it, or more harsh pressure, as some people would say. For me, pressure is pressure. I don't care if you use a stick, a pinch collar, an e-collar, hunger, or a leash. It's all pressure, right? It's up to you as the trainer, as the handler, to decide what's best for your dog. And not just what's best, how do I feel about it? Who cares about how I feel about it? What's the best life for a dog? For me, the best life for a dog is a dog that's completely as free as possible, can walk in most places off the leash, can explore as a dog needs to explore. Performance dog, a dog that's able to perform to his highest level of capability. And guess what? A lot of the performance dog trainers, we use this for a reason. It's not because we need to abuse our dogs into performing at high levels. I'm sorry, you don't get to a high level from a performance standpoint by abusing your dog, right? The dog has to really, really want to do it. But we're also using another level of dog. Working dogs, hunting dogs, police dogs, military dogs, they all use devices like this, right? Now again, there's some countries in Western Europe, they ban these devices, okay? One or both. And guess what the trainers there do now? The police dogs, we all know, the quality of the dogs is decreasing because they need to use more compliant, less powerful animals. Now you might think that's a good thing. Personally, I don't. I don't think we should have to make animals less because we have a utopian ideology that doesn't gel with the real world. So we're going to try to manipulate the real world to gel with our utopian ideology. My whole point from this video is pressure is pressure. Now, that first thing that I did to myself, 200, well, second thing, because the first thing I did was double 10, then I did double 100. Okay? Somebody might look at me like, why would you ever? There is no time that you would ever have to do that to your dog. There's no place, there's no time, there's no place for that. And I would say, you haven't trained enough dogs yet, not to any kind of meaningful level. There's 100% been instances when that 200 has saved a dog's life, right? I've been able to create a behavioral change in that dog, whether it's a simple thing like a recall where the dog was walking through 100 on the e-collar for a recall, and all of a sudden adding that extra bit of power created a very reliable recall that the dog is now able to live his entire life off leash, or dogs that have severe behavioral problems that literally we're going to get them put down. There's a time and a place for that, right? That really can improve a dog's life or save their life. Now, there are some dogs you'll destroy their life if you do that. And that's the thing with pressure. People want to speak in terms of absoluteness, right? This is bad, this is good. Well, no, that's bad sometimes and that's good sometimes. And this is good sometimes and this is bad sometimes. Because I've seen a lot of training with this that did nothing but waste people's time and money and ultimately even cost dogs their lives. So What's good and what's bad? What's moral and what's not? You know, people want to pretend like it's an easy thing. Unless you've trained a lot of dogs to meaningful levels. I always say that because there's people that I've trained 30 years, they haven't done anything, right? They can't do anything. They can barely teach a dog a reliable recall, much less fix severe behavioral problems like resource guarding, aggression. They don't compete on any meaningful level, yet they criticize people that do compete on meaningful levels, whether it's in dog sport, whether it's in working venues, whether it's fixing behavioral issues. There is no absolutes in dog training. Devices, right? Methods, there's no absolutes. And that's what you have to understand. So I think the big problem that we have, it's not that we shouldn't have moral conversations. Like, was that thing you did fair? Right? I think there was some video of some guy, he was whacking a dog with a baseball bat while shocking the dog on the e-collar. I think most everybody looked at that and was like, what in the heck is going on here? This is terrible. It's obviously very unclear for the dog. It's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with having these conversations. The problem is a lot of the time the people leading the conversations are not in positions where they have the knowledge, the experience, or the accomplishments to be leading that conversation. And then we have politicians who probably half of them don't even own a dog making decisions. Because lobbyist organizations like PETA and various force-free training advocacies and SPCAs and stuff like that. Again, people with no accomplishments. Their only accomplishment is collecting donations, right? But these are the people leading the conversation on dog training. Veterinarians, right? Again, most vets don't know anything, about dog training. Sure, they can give your dog a shot and they can cut the testicles off your dog, and that's good in some contexts. Right? But that doesn't make them, an expert on dog training. I'm sorry, you don't go to school to be an expert on dog training. You train hundreds of dogs to meaningful levels, whether it's in competition sport, behavior, real working venues, to become a good dog trainer. And your dogs reflect your work, right? You have a body of work that people can look at and say, yeah, that guy knows what he's doing. So maybe what he says about pressure or doesn't say about pressure is important, all right? But usually the people leading the conversation are the exact opposites of who we want to lead that conversation. So there are no absolutes in dog training. And leading with your emotions isn't the right thing to do either. So I hope this video kind of sheds some light on this topic, guys. It's one of those things where I think there's a lot of moralizing, false moralizing, by people that have ulterior motives and bad agendas. And if we want to make this about the dogs, let's make it about the dogs. But if we want to make this about you and your feelings, then I'm out personally. And I have no interest in that conversation. So I hope this kind of helped you guys conceptualize it. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Feel free to comment below, like, subscribe. There'll be more hard-hitting content. I don't know that I'm going to get 200 again on the collar, because that really did suck. So if you chain that to a contingency within my behavior that was bad, I'd probably, like, if you said, hey, Haz, every time you touch that table, you're going to get 200, right? Very quickly, I don't think I could force myself to touch that table too many times, right? Now, you might think, oh, that's terrible. Why would you want to do that to somebody? Well, in dog training, I can think of a number of contexts where I might want to do that. Again, for the good of the dog, for the good of his relationship with his owner, so that they can continue to live with him and not have to give him up or put him down, right? So think about it. And like I said, like, subscribe, comment below. Thank you for watching.